Everyone, so welcome again to the after. Center for Women's and Gender Studies Training Extension and Outreach Program. And on behalf of the UP Center for Women's and Gender Studies, as well as of the UP Center for Women's Studies Foundation, Inc., I'd like to extend my warmest love and care to everyone who are here this afternoon. Maligayang buwan na mga kababaihan una sa lahat. Let's clap ourselves to that, okay? We rarely celebrate Women's Month, so let's make the most out of it. And just like what I've been telling earlier this morning, we're not here just to celebrate our achievements, what we have done so far as women, and all of our accomplishments. We also would want to take the opportunity to think of a lot of women who are undergoing a lot of challenges right now. Because as we celebrate Women's Month this afternoon inside this room, there are women outside who are still experiencing discrimination, exploitation, marginalization, oppression, and subordination, and we have to talk about them, and we have to discuss about them, and we have to discuss on how we can help move this conversation forward. All right, so before anything else, okay, so let me make sure that we're on track. Okay, so before anything else, let's give our warmest round of applause to the Interim Director of the UP Center for Women's and Gender Studies, Dr. Marie Aubrey Marby Villasaran, to give her opening remarks.
Hello, some of you have joined us since this morning, so thank you for staying over. As I said, just Marby, please, not Marie Aubrey. As I mentioned this morning, it feels like my mom is calling me and she's mad. Okay, so just Marby. German Ambassador to the Philippines, Anke Reiffenstuel. UP Advisor for Academic and Research Development, Dr. Leo Cubillan. Incoming AVP for Student Affairs, Shari Oliquino, who was also with us this morning, no? Our lovely panel today. Friends from MWSS, from GIZ, UP staff and students, our lovely concessionaires as well from women's organizations outside who decided to join us this afternoon. Our UP athletes, friends and fellow feminists, a warm good afternoon to everyone. So I'm happy to be with you, with all of you here today as we share stories of strengthening feminist advocacy, particularly as we celebrate National Women's Month. Do you know what the theme is? Most of you know, no? So the theme of National Women's Month is Women and Everyone We, no? For gender equality and inclusive society. So as we gather here today, we recognize that achieving gender equality is not just a women's issue. It's actually a human rights issue. Okay? And it affects everyone in society. Right, Attorney Twyla? It is a call to action to work towards a world where every person, regardless of gender identity or expression, has the opportunity to reach their full potential. So sharing stories is a powerful tool in this work towards a more inclusive society. When we share our stories, we can help to build empathy, understanding, and connections between individuals from different backgrounds and experiences. And by hearing from a diverse range of voices, especially those whose experiences are so different from ours, right? We can challenge our own biases and misconceptions and gain new insights and perspectives. And at the same time, sharing stories is also an important part of strengthening feminist advocacy. Stories can help highlight the unique challenges and experiences of women and help to build momentum for change. They can also help to inspire action and mobilize individuals and communities towards a common goal. But it's not just about sharing stories of struggle and hardship. Celebrating the stories of women's achievements and successes is also an important part of building a more inclusive society. So it's not always the negative, but also the wins that we have had, no? By highlighting the contributions of women in all fields and industries, we can challenge stereotypes and inspire future generations of women to pursue their dreams. Now, this afternoon, let's raise our cups or mugs or goblets. I don't know what you have there. Be whatever it is that's inside there, water, tea, or something that's spiked, right? So
Let's say for Atty. Twyla daw.
not for me and Twyla, no? Yes, Twyla. So let's raise our cups or mugs as we celebrate National Women's Month with the theme of women and everyone for gender equality and inclusive society. Now let us remember the importance of sharing stories. May this morning be a space where all voices are heard and valued, and let us listen with empathy and openness. Let us share our vision for a more inclusive society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Okay? So, everyone, shot, cheers, kampai, post. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Marvy Villasan. Let's give her our warm round of applause. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. All right, itawid na natin. Sorry, tawid is move forward. Okay, so let's move this conversation forward. And it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce the incoming Vice President for Academic Affairs of the University of the Philippine System. Let's all give our warm round of applause to Dr. Leo Cobillan.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to the Office of the President, and thank you. I'm very glad to be here and seeing everyone here. I saw the what you prepared outside, and this event is Zoom, and part of the system's activities for Women's Month. And kanina you said that it's really a human rights issue. And the university is really committed to create an enabling environment to promote this equality. And of course, not just for women, but for the entire UP community and our society. And actually, you told me to to wear purple, so I'm wearing purple to support. And pinadala ako ng mug. And I'd like to share, and then nakita ko sa office ko, it says here, sa UP Manila to eh, ugnayan at pagkakaisa. It says here, triumph of unity over time and bounds. So it's our unity for this cause. And at this point, I'd like to read the official message of the President. So, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. A pleasant afternoon to everyone. On behalf of the University of the Philippines, I warmly greet our distinguished panel of speakers, participants and guests at this Kapihan ng mga Peminista 2023. I welcome Her Excellency, Anke Reiffenstuel, the German ambassador, Dr. Juan Alfonso Leonardia of Deutsche Gesellschaft für Internationale Zusammenarbeit, is that right? Or the German Agency for International Cooperation. Pinahirapan lang tayo. Dr. Sylvia Estrada-Claudio, the chair of the board of Likhaan Center for Women's Health. Dr. Junice Demetrio Melgar, Executive Director of Likhaan Center for Women's Health. Attorney Krissi, Shaffina, Twyla, yes, Rubin, Head of the Gender Equality and Women's Human Rights Center of the Commission on Human Rights. Ms. Mayen Juico, wala pa, Human Rights Advocate and former Councilor of Quezon City. Belated greetings and congratulations also to our panel of speakers for this morning. We had Professor Beatriz Torre of UP Department of Psychology, Professor Jacqueline Marie Kawayan of UP College of Education, Ms. Micaela Singson Ortega Mendoza, former board member of the Ilocos Sur Provincial Government, and Ms. Alisa Balite, Gender and Human Rights Researcher at the UP College of Social Work and Community Development. I have heard that this morning's session was both enriching and empowering, delving deep into the intersections of feminism, women's rights, and gender equality in the academe, in governance, in STEM fields, and civil society. This afternoon session will focus on women's and reproductive health. And I'm particularly interested, I'm a medical doctor, and the President's looking forward to the insights and reflections from our afternoon panel of speakers. Most of all, the President is congratulating the UP Center for Women's and Gender Studies for continuing to hold these transformative and progressive discussions, fostering collaborative engagement among feminist scholars, leaders, and activists, empowered women who are experts in their respective field, and individuals and groups who represent our main stakeholders, women from the underprivileged and marginalized communities, which is part of the university. These kapihan ng mga Peminista continued throughout the pandemic years by shifting online, spearheaded by the UP Center for Women and Gender Studies Training Extension Outreach Program, headed by Mr. Ferdinand Vincent Hermoso.
I don't have this.
Tama ba? And I am glad to see the kapihan ng mga Peminista return to face-to-face discussions while reaching a wider audience through Zoom and online live streaming, thus providing an even bigger platform where we can celebrate the achievements and milestone of women, where they can freely and openly discuss the pressing issues that affect women, men, persons of diverse sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, and sex characteristics, other underprivileged and marginalized sectors. As a national university, UP is mandated to take the lead in pushing for national development, progressive social transformation, and sustainable and equitable future for all. The university's objective can only be achieved by empowering women and entire sectors of the population to fulfill their true potential and hindered by systemic socioeconomic and cultural inequalities, which makes it essential for the university to engage with all sectors and amplify all voices of society, especially the marginalized. Thank you as well to the GIZ. I will not mention, read your name again. And the German Embassy, Manila, for partnering with UP to engage with women from the academe and other sectors, thus further advancing the discourses on issues related to women's health. With that, I thank you all and wish you a fruitful exchange of the ideas. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Leo Cavillan, for promoting me, number one. And of course, for answering my call yesterday. I was at the market yesterday when you called me. Reproductive work. Yeah, okay, so yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Leo. Let's give him again our warmest round of applause. All right, so now I'd like to call AVP Shari Eloquino of the Students' Affairs to deliver her solidarity message. Let's give her our warm round of applause as well.
Good afternoon, everyone, to our fellow officials of the university and, of course, our distinguished panel. I am going to read an excerpt from the statement of the College Editors Guild of the Philippines last year during the celebration of the Women's Month, because I think this very statement is still relevant up until today. Women hold up half the sky, rising, resisting, and uniting on top of the waving contradictions against the hasty stereotypes and with the broad masses. International Working Women's Month could be commemorated every day and should be commemorated every day. But this March, the women's integral role in nation building and even systemic change is given emphasis. Thus, we stand in solidarity with women of the farms, fisheries, factories, institutions, and the like, how they wrote and chose the path of being the mothers and sisters of the nation, and the Filipinos must be celebrated. We are also one with the women's struggle for genuine national democracy and liberation. Thus, we enjoin our colleagues, my fellow students, and freedom-loving Filipinos to spend this month reminding everyone of the women's place in our society, their place in the struggle, unbound. Again, many thanks to everyone and a pleasant afternoon to all.
Yeah, thank you very much, AVP Shari Olocpino of the Students Affairs for this empowering message. Now, I'd like to itawid ulit. I'd like to move forward to the Deputy Director of the UP Center for Women's and Gender Studies Training, Extension, and Outreach Program, Dr. Excelsa Sitongson, to deliver her solidarity message as well. Let's give her our warm round of applause.
Okay. Maraming salamat, Vince, to Marby, sabi ko. Dr. Marby Villaseran, our Interim Director of the Center for Women's and Gender Studies. Of course, incoming Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Leo Cubilan. And also our Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs, Shari Oliquino. And also, I would like to say hi and thank you for coming also to Her Excellency Anke Reiffenstuel, Ambassador, German Embassy Manila, and Dr. Juan Alfonso Leonardia. Okay, the International Affairs, right? I won't mention anymore the German title because I won't be able to mention that anyway. And of course, I would like to say hello and good afternoon also to our President of the UP Center for Women's Studies Foundation Incorporated, Dr. Caroline Sobrichea, and also Dr. Junice Melgar, no? And also Twyla, Attorney Twyla of the CHR. And also the faculty and students and guests, friends and allies, magandang araw po sa ating lahat and Happy Women's Month. I am a feminist. And I would like to welcome all of you to Kapihan ng mga Peminista in observance of this significant occasion when we acknowledge women's vital role in society, from the family to the workplace to leadership positions. As we join this year's Kapihan ng mga Peminista, let us again take a moment to reflect on the challenges that women have faced and continue to experience in homes, schools, workplaces, and communities. Women have fought for their rights and equality, and we have made significant progress through their continuous hard work, resilience, determination, and even creativity. I stand before you today to celebrate the contributions and achievements of women through history, and we honor those who have paved the way for future generations and recognize them making a difference in our societies today. For the senior or the more experienced feminists in this room, like we have Dr. Caroline Sobrichea, and of course, Dr. Melgar, and of course, Dark Lord, Dean Claudio, Dean Guy. Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for paving the way for junior feminists like us, for those who are still, still moving and recognizing their feminist values. Thank you for holding the torch for us, because without your torch, not really passing on, but lighting our individual torches so that we will have a better, and brighter place in this very, very dark place of ours. And of course, hold on. Of course, through this Kapihan ng mga Peminista, I'm one with the UP Center for Women's and Gender Studies and those who believe in the fundamental human rights of all individuals, regardless of sex, gender, age, ethnicity, race, or creed, and support the efforts of feminist activism to create a positive social change. I stand in solidarity with feminists, with my co-feminists, in our struggle for a more just and equal world. Remember that feminist issues are human rights issues. And please continue to support feminists like us in our fight against gender discrimination, oppression, and violence. I hope that this celebration of Women's Month and this Kapihan ng mga Peminista will inspire us to continue to champion the cause of women's empowerment and to work together to create a better and more equitable world for all of us. Thank you very much. Let us enjoy today's discussion and the program. Happy Women's Month, everyone.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Excellency Tongson, yes, for this inspiring message. Thank you very much, Hi, Dean Guy. Yes, first of all, I'd like to remind everyone that this event is live streamed at the UP Center for Women's and Gender Studies Facebook page and is being shared across by the Facebook pages of GIZ and the German Embassy Manila. So thank you very much for this collaboration. Ulit natin. Sobrang nakakatuwa na we were able to find allies and partners with the Embassy of Germany and GIZ. At hindi pa natatapos dito. This is just a part of the month-long program which we have at UPCWGS, which is part of the AWI Tulat Kwento ni Dakila. On the 24th of March, we'll have a concert at Good Food. You're all invited. The concert is for free with bands and all. So yeah, there. So yeah, I just would like to share like a short background kung bakit may mga on why we are doing this, Kapihan ng mga Feminista. During the pandemic, it was way back in 2020. Every one of us we were inside our homes because of the lockdowns, of the restrictions, of the pandemic. And this Kapihan ng mga Feminista, it's emotional for me because I wrote, this is a paper on one of my subjects. And I got a 1 on this subject. Because this is, I told my professor on how can I be able to organize feminists, especially the older ones, because the earlier months of the pandemic, I was always speaking with Lola Carol. And she was so depressed that time. And she would want to go out of her home. And she would want to find a way to speak with her other feminist colleagues. And I also spoke with other mentors like Doc Nazi, and the others. And then I asked Doc Nazi if I could make this as a paper, if this is doable. She said, why not try to move it forward? Then I wrote the paper, and it was approved by my professor, and hence, this is Kapihan ng mga Feminista. And one more thing was during the Beijing Plus 25 platform, which we organized, there was a speech made by Ma'am Lot Feliz of Oxfam, and it was really heartbreaking when she said that hindi niya alam, she shouldn't know when are we going to get back on doing physical, on how when we can embrace each other back again, when we can kiss each other, when we can greet each other in person. That really broke my heart. So I came up with a paper on how I can be able to unite feminists, both younger and older, into a program which will not require us to get out of our homes. So the first Kapihan ng mga Feminista was done online in 2020 and then 2021. Hi, Consi Mayen. Please grab a seat here. Okay, so yes. So right now, it's the first time that the Kapihan ng mga Feminista is done face-to-face. Again, this is an informal discussion. No pressure. All that we need from you is for you to sit down, relax, and enjoy, get a cup of coffee, talk with your seatmates, listen to the conversation, and add something which could move the conversation of feminism forward. Issues faced by women, challenges, as well as celebrate the milestones that we have been achieving and we are yet to achieve so far. So we are very happy to have everyone on board. All right, so to begin, I would like to also introduce, okay, we have a rich panel of speakers, panel of judges, thesis panel. Okay, we have a very, we have an outstanding panel this afternoon, and I'd like to introduce them one by one first. All right, so first, former Councilor of Quezon City and one of our first batch of fellows of our Angat Bayi Women's Political Empowerment Fellowship Program, former Councilor Lena Marie Mayen Juico. Let's give her our warm round of applause. Thanks. Okay, next is the head of the Gender Equality and Women's Human Rights Center of the Commission on Human Rights, Atty. Krissi, Shaffina, Twyla, Rubin. Okay, go ahead. Of course, third, from the Likhaan Center for Women's Health, Dr. Sylvia Estrada-Claudio. Of course, another one from the Likhaan Center for Women's Health, Dr. Junice Demetrio Melgar. Oh my God, this is the challenging part. Okay. Okay, first up. Okay, from GIZ, I won't tell GIZ as well because I'm not really good in German. But then from GIZ, Dr. Juan Alfonso Leonardia, Johan. And last but definitely not the least, okay, the ambassador of Germany to the Philippines, Ambassador Anke Reiffenstuel. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I practiced that like twice. So before even saying that, okay. So yes, welcome. Thank you very much for saying yes to this conversation. It means a lot to us and to a lot of people who are here this afternoon. And because of that, we would like to begin with the discussion. So what we are doing right now is we'll just be hearing your current advocacies and initiatives within your organizations. You may just share like few, and then we'll move the conversation to them, and so that we can collectively synthesize ways to move forward. So I think we can begin with, Johan. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Vince. Just a brief background. Just a brief background. I'm Johan. I'm a public health doctor by profession, now working with GIZ on the program to advancing girls' rights through menstrual health and hygiene. I have to move a bit here now. Maybe I'll just stand here on the side so I don't have to block that. Actually, presentation wasn't really needed. Maybe you'll get pressured that you needed a presentation, but actually it's not, right? I just was pressured by this morning because they had presentations, so I suddenly whipped up my own presentation, but I hope the rest don't feel as pressured. My background is I'm not a feminist by background. I would consider myself at this point, if there are junior feminists and senior feminists with nicknames like Dark Lord, I'm just a neonatal feminist. And I was actually, honestly, also embryonic feminist. And I was actually afraid to be here. Like they were running, the feminists, you can't say anything wrong. They will crucify you if you use the wrong term and all that. And then I even told Vince, I shouldn't be in the panel. I'm a man. And feminists hate men. So, but Vince said, no, this is okay. We need people like you because you have insights also that people can learn from. And this morning I heard the discussion and I was actually empowered when I heard like, no, the men should be part of it and all that, and also comments like we should just stop. We should not limit ourselves to just the right terms, but really embodying the principles of gender equality. So I felt empowered. So here I am now talking in front of everyone. So yeah. But what makes me a feminist? I think simply because I'm a father of two daughters. My two daughters. My eldest daughter is 9 years old and about to menstruate. I don't know when that will happen, but I'm personally terrified of one day she will come home crying because she had her menstruation. That's why I feel so deeply on the topic of menstrual health. And I also want a better future for my two daughters. That's why I'm fighting for feminism. Okay, so next slide, please. Yeah, so as we know, puberty is that scary time when you get your menstruation. And that time can either be traumatic or a moment of pride depending on how you handled it the first time, right? So I didn't experience that, and that's why I feel I shouldn't be the one talking about it. But I can imagine how horrifying it is to suddenly have bleeding from your vagina as a child, and you'll think you're going to die because suddenly no one ever told you that you were going to have this experience. And apparently, for a lot of children, that is the case. I asked my wife and her friends who are actually from relatively well-off schools when they were in high school, and they said that no, we were never told we were going to menstruate, and it's pretty shocking that even in such probably relatively educated circles, this is the case. And apparently, also I got these words from Lucy Wilson, a consultant who was working on a coalition on reproductive health, that girls were actually better prepared for menstruation had more positive feelings about menstruation. So, yes, our cause is not first to somehow address the shock that comes with the first menstruation, and eventually trying to make menstruation easier for everyone. Next slide, please. Simply because someone from the menstrual health circles once said, you will never have gender equality as long as women menstruate. It's very harsh and but I think that is true, because imagine the amount of time women spend in the toilet changing pads and attending to their menstrual health and menstruation concerns. And then with that alone, you're already losing about, let's say, 1 hour, maybe 24 hours a year working on menstruation. So menstruation should be made, if we want to level the playing field of gender equality, we need to address menstrual health and hygiene. So menstrual hygiene continues to be a challenge for girls in schools, as we all know, because there are still insufficient knowledge, and knowledge that is not there at the right time. There's persistence of taboos, myths, stigma, harmful social beliefs, which lead to exclusion from activities like sports, well, swimming, obviously, and also other things. Now, like in some religions, you're not allowed to participate in certain religious activities, and also which all in all leads to shame, embarrassment, and negative attitudes toward menstruation. Like it's like a curse, it's something that it's an illness, so which should not be the case, because it's just a natural physiological process, as we all know. And the lack of appropriate sanitation and hygiene facilities, safe water and sanitary supplies, and the disposal mechanisms in schools exacerbate the menstruation experience of women all over the world. So, in effect, menstruation affects health and well-being of girls, affects their school attendance, participation, performance, and corollarily future economic opportunities, and reinforces gender inequalities. Next page, please. Yeah, and maybe I'll just skip that because I'll try to keep this short so we have a more fun discussion time. So what we are doing basically as a program with G had said, Fit for School back then, we started with the Essential Healthcare Program in 2011. But since 2016, we have been supporting the Department of Education of the Philippines with their Wash in Schools policy, which includes menstrual health. No? So the great virtue there was that since menstrual health was included, it became policy. And also because we also work together with Save the Children and UNICEF, not only to put it in the policy, but to put it into a monitoring system, such that all schools have now, when they do their monitoring, which like 93% of schools in the country participate in this monitoring, they have checklists in their monitoring sheet what menstrual health services they should provide. So these were all enshrined under DepEd Order 10 series of 2016 under the WINS policy. And under this intervention package, we have access to menstrual health information in the form of booklets, female-friendly sanitation facilities, and access to MHM supplies, which is like napkins and reusable pads, water, and also places to wash. And also private toilets. Next slide, please. So this is the information booklet. It was actually developed by Save the Children and UNICEF, but we're also promoting it as part of the technical working group, which we are trying to distribute to most schools, and it should be easily accessible and available. As we know, the information is the first problem. And the next slide, please. And then we also went into female-friendly sanitation facilities. No? So what? It cannot be seen. No? So what? So when we had female-friendly sanitation facilities, yeah, it's okay, no? Sorry, yeah. What are we aiming to provide? We're aiming to ensure that the facilities provide enough privacy, that there's covered trash bins where you can discreetly dispose of your menstrual hygiene products, having locks on the inside of the cubicle, that the toilets are clean and functional, and also wrapping papers, disposable bags and bags for menstrual health products. We're also promoting that these toilets have mirrors, so you can check whether you had a, how do you call it, a stain. No? Yeah, you have stains, and so. But this whole discussion leads also to the question: how female friendly are our facilities in general? Not just toilets, but you can also bring it up to, like, even in workplaces, how female friendly are our quarters for workers, and all these things. So that we should at least try to reflect on. Next slide, please. So so here we have our diagram of our female-friendly sanitation facilities, which is in the DepEd's, sanitation booklet, where you can see the features that we mentioned. Where of course, not only the cubicle, but also a place to wash is also important. Place where you might need to perhaps hang clothes while you change, and all these things. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here, from there you can also start to improve further on and really have other, I also mentioned the mirrors already, and other things such as also addressing disabilities. Next slide, please. And then, of course, access to MHM supplies. Basically, this is basically just the concept of making emergency napkins available. When a student didn't bring napkins, a place where they know they can get napkins, maybe from the teacher, the guidance office. But in some places, there's even like honesty toilets where we have pads, and you just put in money and you can take a napkin. Some might have even get one napkin, replace it when you have one. You can also work on those things. But these things that we feel schools should have. And there's also practices also already in the Philippines working on these. And we're facilitating the learning exchange so that these things can be diffused around the country. Next slide, please. So after the policy and having put just by placing attention on menstrual health and the menstrual health needs of girls and how schools should address it, and putting it in the policy, we've seen an increase of availability of water in schools from 63% in 2017-18 to 89% in 2020 and 2021. Next slide, please. Gender segregated toilets increased from 49% to 65.5%. Next slide, please. Availability of sanitary pads from 20% to 82.5%. No, so a very, very simple intervention, but you just bring notice to it, and then it's so easy to comply because it's simple, and then you get really a huge increase in a matter of 4 years. No, so 20% to 82.5%. Next slide, please. And the availability of information materials from 36.9% to 63.5%. But this is not, we just supported with the monitoring system, but the work really is with the schools. No? So this is really with DepEd and with the schools who try to make this happen. But also be aware that there's also a disparity between urban and rural schools. Of course, it's harder to achieve these indicators in the rural schools. And we're also thinking right now, how available are sanitary napkins, for example, in rural areas? Next slide, please. Yeah, so we're promoting also other secondary interventions like focal teachers on MHM. We have school involving the school health workforce, girls clubs, pain relief medication, IEC materials, and currently we're also working on how men can be involved. So and currently we're working right now with Kirk Bondad, Mr. World Philippines, to be an influencer for positive masculinity, and also to address also the stigma around menstruation, to make boys and men talk about it in a way that is normal and also not stigmatizing. Next slide, please. Yeah, so basically this is also another of the DepEd manuals that we help to produce on hygiene, which includes a chapter on menstrual health. Yes, so basically that's it. That's what we're doing. And in general, I think the advocacy here is also really for more female-friendly not only schools eventually, but also workplaces and all other environments across other sectors, like having really, well, not only MH, well, of course, gender and MH also across all sectors and in all policies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Johan. That's quite a lot of useful information. Thank you very much. All right, so to continue with the discussion, all right, let me now call. Okay, but before that, does anyone would like to share immediate reflections or insights about Johan's presentation, or anything that anyone who would like to add that they feel important at this moment? All right, so if not, we can just park those for later conversation. Okay, so let us now move forward, okay, to the next panelist, okay, former Quezon City Councilor Mayen Juico. Let's give her our warm round of applause.
Good afternoon to everyone. You don't need to dim the lights. I have no presentation. I didn't feel pressured, but I also didn't prepare one. So I'll just talk my way through this. Especially that, our concept is kapihan, so kwentuhan. So I'm Councilor Mayen Juico, former Councilor Mayen Juico. I ended my term in July of this year, of last year. Ano ba yan? Nahihilo na ako. I ended my term last year in 2022. And I was the committee chair on women, family relations, and gender equality throughout my tenure as councilor. Just to walk you through the advocacies and the programs and measures or ordinances that I was heavily involved with, I'll just give you a rundown of top-of-mind landmark measures that I was able to pass when I was councilor. So first on the list is one that I passed on my rookie year, so on my first year of being councilor. This is the policy on the anti-discrimination policy on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. So this is our SOGI ordinance. Wala na ilalakas to. And
Hello.
Parang mas malakas to. Yun, okay. So that is our SOGI ordinance. And it is hailed the most comprehensive ordinance when it comes to anti-discrimination on the basis of SOGI in the whole of the Philippines. Also because one of its salient features is that it itemizes all the areas where somebody may experience discrimination. So we have the area of employment, education, delivery of goods and services. And apart from that, there's also a provision that is, syempre, this is all top of mind, provision not only on the acts that are prohibited, but also acts that would promote gender equality and the awareness on gender equality even for schools. I passed this on my first term, and incidentally, I had also just given birth, so I was on maternity leave during the time that I passed this. This is to date, I think, my most memorable ordinance because of that. I was a new mother, and I had a newborn in tow, and the deliberation lasted for maybe a good 7 hours. And every so often, the Vice Mayor Joy Belmonte would say, let's give way to Councilor Juico's breastfeeding. And the world would stop only for them to watch me breastfeed my child. And my child was only a month old at that time. That is also quite memorable to me because I was also a victim of abuse. And at that time, being a new mother, I was going through that. So looking back, I cannot really think of how I was able to muster the courage, the energy, the presence of mind, but we women, we find ways, so I was able to do that. Okay, so there, that's one. The second
I'll just go through it. Another that I passed is an ordinance creating the QC Migrants Resource Center. As we all know, a majority of our overseas migrant workers are women and mothers. And there is such a humongous social cost that comes with a mother leaving their families. So this migrant center was put up. We passed that in protection of all these migrant workers and especially the mothers who have been leaving their families in search of a better life and better livelihood abroad. Okay. So the next one I will mention is an ordinance providing for a city gender and development code and for other purposes to harmonize with the provisions of the Republic Act 9710, otherwise known as the Magna Carta of Women, and to adopt the UN Women's Safe Cities and Safe Public Spaces Initiative. In short, Bawal Bastos Ordinance. This was the anti-catcalling ordinance, and I am very proud to say that we were the first in the Philippines to pass the said ordinance. Mind you, I'm just saying, I'm speaking on behalf of the other members of the Sangguniang Panlungsod or the City Council. So when I say I, that's we. Every time I say we passed it, that's with my fellow colleagues in the council. So we were the first to pass this ordinance, and this was a product of a project from UN Women, which was a Safe Cities program or Safe Cities initiative. We are one of 2 cities which they piloted this program with, Quezon City, and then after they did Manila. So we passed that, and we had a campaign that became very popular. And you might remember seeing buses or tarpaulins on Quezon Avenue along the Quezon City Circle that said, "Magastos Mambastos sa Quezon City." So naging napakasikat niyan at meron din kaming police na nasampulan who was catcalling or wolf whistling a couple of students on Katipunan Avenue. And luckily, these women knew about their rights. So they were present-minded enough to complain and nasampulan yung mga police. So only goes to show how sometimes the implementers of the law, they're even the first ones to go against it. So there, you might know about that. Okay, the next is an ordinance organizing and establishing the Quezon City Solo Parents Affairs Office. Okay, I will not mention the rest of the long title. But it is an ordinance creating or establishing a Solo Parents Affairs Office in the city to be able to cater to our solo parents, to have a devoted office that would hear them out, that would address their concerns. Being a solo parent myself, this is very close to my heart. And this was one of the ordinances that I promised Mayor Joy I would pass before I ended my term. And we did that in 2019. Okay? And the idea is to have Solo Parent Affairs Office, satellite offices in every district, just so we are sure that all of our solo parents are in the QC citizenry, that all of them are spoken to, all of them are heard, and that we address their concerns. All right. So the next is, I'm sorry if it sounds like a laundry list that I'm giving you. That's really what I have right now. The next, which was passed in 2021, is an ordinance establishing the institutional mechanism for the protection and support of trafficked persons. So this is an anti-trafficking ordinance. With this ordinance, I'll just give you some salient points and highlights. This ordinance also gave birth to the establishment of a hub or a halfway house for our victims of human trafficking. That's one. Number two, it also provides financial assistance to those who have been trafficked, understanding the root of why they found themselves in that situation of human trafficking. Number three is we gave visitation, trying to recall the exact term, But let's just call it visitation. Di rights eh. Basta we gave the barangay jurisdiction to be able to visit all these sites that may have been reported to them as sites of human trafficking, or those who may, if there's suspicion that this bar or this internet cafe is doing human trafficking, then the barangay can dutifully go to that establishment and close the establishment down. Okay? So that's very important. After that, I also authored an ordinance providing for the Quezon City Comprehensive STI, HIV, and AIDS Prevention and Control Program. This dovetails with another ordinance that I passed shortly after that, which is the Quezon City Policy on the Prevention and Management of Adolescent Pregnancies. Why did I lump it together? Because more or less, the idea of having comprehensive sexual education available to minors and having these programs available to minors was at the heart of these two ordinances. It was very important. When we actually did the hearings and some committee hearings and public hearings, they were dovetailed together because there were just some provisions that were sort of intertwined with each other, especially that they were targeted toward the youth and the prevention of these youth to fall prey to HIV and AIDS and adolescent pregnancy. Okay, so my last, which sadly I was not able to pass on my last term, so it remains to be an ordinance that has yet to be refiled. And I'm hoping my brother, who I think some have worked with here, my brother was the one who passed the reproductive health ordinance before it was passed on to law a long time ago when he was councilor. I'm hoping that he will be able to pass this, but I do understand the hesitation, as our almost lone male was able to share earlier. It is an ordinance providing for a 10% discount on the sale of sanitary napkins and or other feminine hygiene products in Quezon City for the female residents of Quezon City on the months of March for Women's Month and the month of May for World Menstruation Health Day or month. So I'm hoping that that is still passed. We will revisit that. And another that's in its sort of inception stage, which I am helping my brother with, is an ordinance providing for newborn kits for our mothers and those who have newly delivered their children, only for those who have accomplished their parang health card to make sure that they did all the prenatal checkups that they needed to do prior to giving birth. So they have an incentive upon giving birth that they get a newborn kit. So this is in the committee stage. I am not the proponent because I'm no longer councilor. I am just the pusher of my brother who will be the proponent. This is in the committee stage already. So we are hoping that by this month's end, we are able to pass this, of course, in part of celebration of Women's Month. So there. So that's what I have done. And what I have been doing are events like these, speaking engagements I am invited to. So I have been speaking with the ILG, other LGUs when I'm invited to speak and share our knowledge as a former councilor in Quezon City and as a gender advocate. So that's it from my end, and I hope I was able to enlighten you and share, worthwhile things with all of you here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, former Councilor Mayen. Yeah. Sobra, in Filipino, sobrang nabudol ko sila. So, ang hirap nilang kunan, pero nakipag-negotiate ako big time just for everyone to be here, of course. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing all the comprehensive ordinances. Thank you very much. Now let's move forward to our next panelist, of course, Dr. Junice Demetrio Melgar. Let's give her our warm round of applause.
Thank you very. Hi. Is it? Have so many. But really, I was hoping Guy would be ahead, so I was saying we could have a tandem, or she could give the grand vision, feminist vision of Likhaan.
This is what senior feminists do.
Yeah, but let me talk about concrete things that Likhaan does. Likhaan is 27 years old. That's where our gray hairs come from. 27 years of really pushing for sexual and reproductive health and rights in a country that is so Catholic. So your brother, we know your brother went into problems, no, personal and work-wise, because of the opposition of the Catholic Church in Quezon City. But let me start with like the good news, no? The good news is that through our advocacy, we were able to push with our reproductive health law, which took 14 years to pass, and which I think weakened the Catholic Church a bit, no? Because you don't hear them screaming anymore. Before, we would see our names in flames, including your brothers, no? When you see social media, you would see some names in flames there. That would be Guy's names. That would be your brother's names and some others, no? But that's how awful. I have been called abortionist to my face because of the RH bill that does not even legalize abortion. So it was all fighting to make contraception accessible, actually, to the Philippines and to help diminish abortion. So we are very Catholic. We illegalize all abortion, but we have among the highest abortion rates in Southeast Asia. 27. So 27 per 1,000. And that hasn't been declining, no? That's really stagnant. And so abortion is not in the law, but post-abortion care that is humane and non-judgmental is there. So when the women, and I would like to acknowledge the men, and the many young people who joined the struggle for the law. So I can understand, is it just a feminist thing? Actually, many feminists or some feminists found the RH law very dilute. Parang it didn't aspire to the greatest abortion on demand, no? It was really limited. So I just want to bring up, like, when we talk about feminist movements, there's no one movement here in the Philippines. There is a diverse. And I think it's very important that we acknowledge that and we respect that. There is no one overarching feminist movement in the Philippines, no? And I think the RH law, the push for the RH law is one indication of feminists and other groups coming together, and that was wonderful. So we did not get the abortion law that we wanted passed, but we got the term universal access to contraceptives, which is very important for the poorest. The poorest women in the Philippines, they have 2 children more than they want, compared to the richest who have the number that they want, which is like 1 or 2 or less than 2, basically. So I think the issue of intersectionality, I think, is also very important, because you have to push for programs, laws, policies that respond to the most marginalized women and men in the Philippines. And that's very true for us, no? Whether it's maternal mortality, so you have Philippines still among the slowly declining maternal mortality rates in the world. You have one of the highest abortion rates in Southeast Asia. We are still debating whether it's really 47 per 1,000 or 36,000, the latest figures. And the small figure doesn't really jive with the pandemic. So this is just maybe to explain that there is a new study, there's a new assessment that says ABR, abortion birth rates, declined to 36 per 1,000 in 2021. Before that, it was 47 per 1,000 in 2017. So we were wondering, what did we do so greatly during the pandemic that the ABR would drop from 47 to 36? And even the total fertility rate dropped from 2.7 to 1.9. So that is all miraculous. We don't really understand what the math is behind that. But it's hard to see, to have that in contrast with the reality on the ground. So just to round off, we have passed the RH law. It's still not being implemented well. We don't have a budget. Every budget that the DOH proposes is voted down by senators. I'm glad that Senator Soto is no longer there. But you have other senators that really are just willing to stop. So you have a less meaningful law, actually, for the poorest. Because there's really, how do they spend for contraceptives? They have to draw it out of their pockets. And their pockets are empty. No? So I think, I don't want to paint the picture that we have gone so far with feminism in this country. I always think about the Sustainable Development Goals and the tracking of the Philippines there. When you see our ranking there, Philippines is number 95 out of 197 countries. Our other contemporaries like Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, they're so much higher than we are. So it's not just the Catholic Church that's barring sexual and reproductive health. It's also the way our government has really failed our people. And I think this is why for Likhaan communities, one of the areas where we talk about at length, no, is really our role as citizens to make sure that the government works for women, for the poorest, and for the people. So that is still our dream despite the gray hairs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc Junice. Let's give her our warm round of applause. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Government and church. That's our. Yeah, thank you very much. And since nang inis na si Dean Gay kanina, okay, I would like to forward this conversation, of course, to Dr. Sylvia Estrada-Claudio. Let's give her our warm round of applause.
Thank you. Hello? Is this okay? Hello? No. Hello? Okay. That one was made by a macho man, doesn't want to work for a feminist. Okay, so I have to explain Dark Lord. I think you got a hint because of the consistent opposition to some of the social norms imposed by our muscular Catholic Church. I think some of my earliest students, some of whom you know, Maya Tamayo of Angat Bayi, Viola Torres, who counsels with you here, at one dinner decided to just call me the Dark Lord. And since then, the cult has grown. But it's a feminist cult because I think the minions are far more aggressive than the supposed head of the cult. So anyway, so that's why I'm called the Dark Lord. And I've been asked to say what are our current advocacies. And I was so happy because I have a longer laundry list than you. If it's because I and Junice are decades ahead of some of you, so our laundry list would be very long. And I'm glad Junice actually ended on the thought of intersectionality, because I've really been thinking about movements recently. I just retired, so I've had lots of time to think about all sorts of things. And I am working around the concept of inter-movement solidarity, but also personal solidarity, because for feminists, the personal is political, you know that. And the kind of solidarity where I begin to understand that your struggles, whether I was with them or not, are part of my social history, because we are together in a large movement of people trying to change, sometimes for themselves, such as when women try to change things for themselves, and sometimes for others, such as when people of privilege try to work with more marginalized groups of people. But we are all part of that struggle. And so for me, the movement is my history and my social history. Various parts of the movement are my history because I participated in them. Her story, yes, because I participated in it. But as a whole, because of the social horizons that we have all changed together. And believe me, when Junice started and I started, oh my God, it was far more horrible than now, no matter how horrible now happens to be, right? So it's that sense, perhaps, of solidarity that I want to work with. So I'll go with my laundry list, so you'll see how the people who have spoken and probably the people who will speak, because I know this one is my student, so I know we'll have solidarities. So Junice and I came from the underground community-based health programs during the Marcos dictatorship. Our first attempts were to convince our comrades to have some gender sensitivity in their health programs. That was when we met with some problems, because many of those running community-based health programs under the Marcos dictatorship were priests. The programs were being done under the Catholic Church. So that was our first, okay, no wonder there are no contraceptives. But we came from that, no? And then we founded Likhaan in 1995 because we couldn't convince people to do what we wanted, so we decided to do it for ourselves. And at that time, we were not just focused on contraceptives. We really wanted a comprehensive community-based program. It's only the practicalities of funding, et cetera, that made us focus really on reproductive health services. And then, well, for me, I was part of the group that fought for laws. So the rape law, before the current rape law, classified rape as a crime against chastity, not as a crime against persons. So you would have to be chaste. And looking at you, none of you would have been raped because none of you look particularly chaste to me this afternoon. You know how that works, okay. I'm the Dark Lord, remember? You're all in my cult. So, okay. Then there's the anti-sexual harassment law that we had to fight for. Of course, the RH bill that Junice has mentioned. I'm very proud to be in the records of the Senate as an abortionist. Probably the first woman mentioned into the records as an abortionist because of my advocacy for the RH law. But I don't think you'll worry, because this was a privileged speech by Senator Soto, who usually talks through his hat. So we don't know. All right. And other laws, like the Magna Carta of Women. When I was center director, because I was a former director of the center, I was tasked to put together the guidelines for UP's adherence to the Magna Carta, gender guidelines. So that was one of my tasks. As center director, also had to monitor the implementation and implementation of the of the anti-sexual harassment guidelines of UP. And after 20 years, put in a lot of work to finally get it revised. It happened not in my term, but in the term after. But a lot of the work was already being done before that. As center director, I put up the first all-gender bathroom in UP campus, so it's there. Every time I came here, I still inspect just to see. Okay. Yeah, it should be. All right. So, as center director also, it was helpful for me to be able to put together support of the various UP disciplines so that there would be scholarly, academic, and data-driven arguments for the RH law. So you can see how it really is a movement that sort of flows, whether you know the person who's advocating it or you don't, no? I was the third faculty member of the Women and Development Program, then only a program. Now it is a full department, and I am its second professor emeritus, so it's become a big program. And again, a lot of the work, it's my karma. I do all the work to make it a department, and it becomes blessed as a department after my term as a coordinator. I also helped to put together the first LGBT special interest group of the Philippine Association, Psychological Association of the Philippines. So it's the PAPSIG LGBT, the first of its kind in psychological associations in Asia. And I breastfed also, way ahead of you. Many of my contemporaries in the movement remember feminist meetings where I would just breastfeed all my kids. And when I asked to room in at the medical city, they didn't know what to do with me. They just had to give in to me because I was a doctor myself, and the head of infectious diseases was my sister-in-law, and but they really didn't know what to do with me. They roomed me in, but the residents didn't know who would do the rounds. Would it be obstetricians? Would it be pediatricians? Who was going to feed? Yeah, there was no rooming in policy. They just gave in to me. So you can see how that works. So the last thing, going back to my current advocacies, it's really about now thinking of the comprehensiveness of the things we do. So, for example, I retired last year. When I retired, I was dean of over there, College of Social Work and Community Development. And the thing that I was frustrated with at the pandemic was we had begun to look into food insecurity issues in the university. So we were planning, it's beginning to start up now, to have a non-stigmatizing canteen because we had done the studies, and like many universities here and abroad, even supposedly Ivy League universities, there is student hunger on campus. And we were trying to look at programs. We're trying to set up a canteen which is beautiful, but non-stigmatizing, where students can just tap with their IDs if they have been certified as in need of food security. So it will be beautiful, and hopefully the food is good, so people will want to eat there regardless. And you will also be tapping cards in order to buy food, so no one will know if you're tapping because you need food or you're tapping because you're just a person who who wants to eat there because it's going to be a really cool place. So I've got the university, it's under being renovated now, and it's going to look like a nice Starbucks. So I hope it will work out and as a pilot program. But food security is just the last thing that we try to do in the college. We're a small college with small number of faculty, but we are listed as a university-wide resource for psychosocial support because we have put a lot of emphasis on that. But as I said, psychosocial support and it comes from a feminist principle of ours. That means also other things like food security. It also means that we have a managed animal welfare program in the college. I hope it's still working because the pandemic really made things go to crazy things. Also an environmental program for, that food stuff there in the center courtyard. That's my half-frustrated dream for this center because I thought we should convert all grass to eatable stuff. Yeah, so we're still trying. So it is about the bigger things, the environment as well as cats and dogs. And just a joke, the name of the dog we adopted in CSWCD is called Marsha. Kasi she had been a male dog, she would have been called Marshal. Because it's the only law that we will obey, called martial law, right? But she's a woman, so it's martial law. But she's going to be trained, I think, for our support, petting support, if the new dean would be willing to push through with some of the suggestions. Okay. Bigger than this comprehensive approach for psychotherapy, and I try to help the UP at a bigger level also. So there are dance and movement programs in the College of Physical Education. There's art therapy coming from our College of Arts and Letters. There are a lot of little efforts that have to be put together. The College of Education has one very strong feminist counseling advocate. I hope she'll become dean soon. Don't tell her, I hope. But she's on her way. She's now one of the middle professors. So there's a lot of work also going within the university. Other than working at levels and levels and levels, the big picture is our country is undergoing severe democratic deficits. And it is the work of social support like universal health care, which includes a lot of women's health, universal education. I come from a college that advocates for massive social spending, for social support, for poorer sectors of the society that we have to work for because it also is the beginning of how we fill up the democratic deficits. If you have good education, if you have good health, if you do not feel like you are totally going to fall into some hole of precarity, hunger, and suffering, because our government can give you some amount of support, I think then we can begin to address the fake news, the fears, the lying, the way demagogues on the left and the right with cancel culture or outright red tagging can be met. The fear-mongering, the divisions, the binary thinking that is causing really a terrible blow to our capacity as a people to talk with each other and to come up with policies and programs, including policies and programs that will continue to help women become realities. We went through that in the RH bill where we were demonized, but I don't know how we might win that struggle now with the level of vitriol, and we have to find a way, I think, to begin to talk to each other again. So that's one. I'll end with What am I doing now? It's like looking at all of you. There are old faces here who I've been with. There are young faces here who I've been with. There are old faces here whom I don't know, and that's wonderful. It means I've been in solidarity with you because, as I said, you're part of my social history. You helped make the horizons that I know of happen, even if you were there and I was way over here. And there are young faces also here that I don't know. And that's also wonderful for me. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Dark Lord. All right, so yes, I totally agree with what Dean Guy mentioned about the importance of universal education and healthcare in order to address all the issues and roadblocks that we have been encountering as a nation. Thank you very much, Dean Guy, for this. All right, so next, yes, another budol. Okay, so let me introduce Attorney Twyla Rubin of the Commission on Human Rights, Gender Equality and Women's Human Rights Center to give her talk. Let's give her our warm round of applause.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Dingay, Doc Junice, and everyone. I'm very happy to be here. As Dingay said, I'm her student. So I'm a feminist, and I'm a product of the Department of Women and Development Studies. So today I was asked to share the programs of the Commission on Human Rights Center for Gender Equality and what we've been doing. But at the same time, I was thinking that shall I go through our programs, and that would be quite a bore also. Of course, we would want to share. But then I decided that perhaps it would be better to reflect. Feminists love to reflect and to think about the processes on how we developed our programs. And for today, instead of just talking about the programs that we have in the Commission on Human Rights, I'll also be sharing what were the principles behind the programs. And these are the things that we learned in this university. There are 2 women and development students in our department. So very much informed by feminist principles. So I'm from the CHR. We are the country's national human rights institution. We are the country's gender and development ombud. As such, we are tasked to advocate and promote women's human rights. We have to investigate and provide legal assistance when there are violations, promote and advocate women's human rights, and we have also the mandate to monitor government compliance with its treaty obligations. So that means also looking into providing advisories for government to comply with its human rights obligation. We also have a prevention mandate, preventing human rights violation in places of detention. But in terms of gender ombud mandate and the center, I've been reflecting how we've been developing our programs, and it has been largely very much informed by feminist principles. And this first, we recognize the importance of solidarity and collective action. That's for one. The second, we recognize the importance of women's lived experiences, especially the most vulnerable. The third, we aim to render visible and address gender issues faced by women that are often invisible and trivialized and are often and impact their exercise of rights. And fourth, mentioned by Dean Guy and of course Doc Junice, intersectionality. We cannot do our work without recognizing that women are diverse, they have multiple identities, vulnerabilities, privileges, and the importance of addressing these identities and different contexts in terms of programming. So first, in terms of solidarity and collective action, since the start of the center in 2016, 8 years na, we've been working with women's organizations and groups to develop programs. We cannot, all the things that we've done in 8 years, we would have been unable to do it without the guidance of women's groups and women's movements. For example, we've had 2 national inquiries. First on reproductive health in 2016, another on the reproductive health of women with disabilities. All these were informed by the work of Likhaan. of the Center of also of Gender Rights, and many women's organizations. I remember going to Doc Junice. Doc Junice, I don't know anything. I know very little of reproductive health and rights, but we know this is our mandate. How do we go about it? And they were very kind. Women's movements, organizations like Likhaan were very helpful. This is how you're going to phrase it. These are the communities that you're going to talk to. These are the women and the organizations that you have to meet so that you can get the real situation of women on the ground. So we wouldn't be able to come up with a situation or reproductive health that helped us push for passage of ordinances and counter the Supreme Court's decision on reproductive health, because there has been resistance. In fact, together with Doc Junice, we had a problem with the city of Sorsogon when they declared their city as pro-life city and banning modern contraceptives. Likhaan was there on the ground saying that this is an issue. CHR, you have to take a stand on this. And we had to include that in our national inquiry. And that resulted in a report. And so we also work with women with disabilities when we had our reproductive health inquiry. So these are just forms of solidarity and collective action. For example, more recently, last year, the other year, I think 2021, we work with LILAC, Purple Action for Women's Human Rights, to come up with a situationer on indigenous women and girls. So we always connect with women's organizations in the work that we do in developing the concept note, ironing out the methodology, because we recognize that these are the women with expertise. They've done this work for a long time. It's really high time for government to listen to their experiences and to also reflect on the processes that we are adopting. Is it enough? For example, the communication allowances that we are allowed by COA, it's not enough. You know, government agencies can only, for us, give 100 pesos for communication allowance for our Zoom attendees. And really, that's not enough. And if you're working with indigenous women and girls, it's difficult for us to give transportation allowance because COA will question it. And that is not enough. That is the government not doing enough to include those women in the margins. So the second is the importance of women's lived experiences. When we developed the tools in order to get the experiences of women, we were, of course, informed by our learning from DSD, no, women, DWDS, Department of Women and Development Studies. So it's a mouthful, but we came from that and we've got our training from that it's important to put women's experiences at the center, provide them the space to give their story, to tell their stories. And so when we draft our questionnaires, we have that in mind, that we will be able to amplify their voices, provide spaces for them to talk. For example, this year, the situationer that we're working on is a situation on street dwellers. We're going to interview homeless street dwellers. And that means thinking about human rights standards on adequate housing, water, sanitation, etc., and transforming it into questions, asking them if they are able to access these rights. And of course, with the end of providing recommendations to government. And it's important to have that kind of space. And then third is rendering visible women's issues. I think many of women's issues are often trivialized and set aside. Unpaid care work, the last consultation with women's organization, PKKK, Pambansang Coalition ng Kababaihan sa Kanayunan, raised the issue that we don't have a legal framework or a framework for looking at unpaid care work. So they said, what is the framework of CHR in terms of unpaid care work? So we're saying that we have been discussing it in our situationers. We know it's an important gender issue that has to be addressed. And we do ask it in the questionnaires that we have. And we also recognize that we still have more to do on that. We also include, of course, as always, responses to GBV, developing reporting portals during the pandemic, also addressing gender-based violence in online spaces. So then lastly, of course, intersectionality. We do recognize many of the vulnerabilities of women, and in the work that we do, we always ask, who are we leaving behind? In this discussion, in this room, who are not in this room? and whose issues are not being heard, whose situations are not being addressed. So we've had a situationer already on women deprived of liberty. What we do, we also did interviews with lesbians, women, older women in detention, and ask them about their situation, what are their recommendations for government. And through these voices of the women that we were able to talk to, we bridge them to government agencies and tell Bucor, BJMP, that these are the recommendations from women. You are not providing enough SRHR services. There are no gender-specific needs for women. There are no visitations, and mostly absence of visitation for LBTs, and different rights of conjugal visits for men and women. So different standards. So those are the things that we do. So primarily, that's our work, and we continue to work in solidarity with women's organizations, and we continue to do our work as gender umbud, recognizing that all the things we've done for the past 8 years, we wouldn't have been able to do that without the help of the women's movements, women's organizations that we've been working with. And we will always continue as well to work with women on the ground and women's organizations, women's movements. And of course, we value our allies in government because we do also have champions and advocates in government. So, thank you, Vince.
Thank you very much. Let's give Atty. Twy our warm round of applause. Yes, if there is one important lesson that I've learned working with the Commission on Human Rights for the past years that I've been part of the Center for Women's and Gender Studies, that is leaving no one behind. Just like what she said, when you're inside the room and you'll ask yourself who are not in the room with us, then you'll ask yourself, why are they not with us? There must be wrong with the mechanism that is being implemented. That's the reason why they're not with us. We keep on telling that these people did not finish school, they were not able to be given the right education. Why were they not given the right education? Because the mechanism is poor, and there's something wrong with how it is being implemented. And that's where feminists step in to find for answers in a feminist way that leaves no one behind. So thank you very much, Atty. Twy. So moving forward, last but definitely not the least. Okay, so let me call on Ambassador Anke Reiffenstuel to give the last talk for this afternoon. Let's give her our warm round of applause.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me, for inviting me. It's been amazing, and it's a big learning afternoon for me to see and to hear all your experiences and work, which give the impression to me that the reality in this country is first very different in many parts from the country I come from Germany, and at the same time also sometimes a bit different from what the reality or what the things read here on the paper. So it's very good to get this feedback, how reality is and feels on the ground. Since we were asked to give an overview or short insight into what our institution, what our home offices is focusing on when it comes to gender equality and women empowerment, I would like to give you a short overview of what the German government, what the German Foreign Ministry is doing, especially since only last week our foreign minister, for the very first time we have a woman foreign minister, launched our strategy on feminist foreign policy, which underlines that there is a political leadership and commitment to promote women empowerment in our foreign policy. This strategy on feminist foreign policy has two dimensions, an internal one and an external one. And the external one is, I think, what is relevant here, and then that would I like to elaborate on a little bit. The focus of our feminist foreign policy is granting, advocating, working towards the three R's: rights, resources, and representation. Adequate rights, resources, and representation of women in all issues, no matter what the issues are, be it peace and security, be it humanitarian assistance or crisis management, be it human rights, be it climate or energy supply, be it trade and economy, be it art and culture, whatever the part of policy or society issues we are dealing with, we want to make sure that women or marginalized groups like LGBTI groups are represented adequately, and not only represented but included from the beginning comprehensively, also by advocating for equal rights, as it was underlined various times this afternoon. Women's rights are human rights, so there shouldn't be a question why women should have the same rights in the workplace, in the family, in life and society. For resources, of course, if we say yes, we are for women's rights, for women empowerment, then this requires funding. This requires that projects, that women empowerment projects have funding, that we grant funding not only for women empowerment related projects, but that we make sure that in all projects, or every time we provide, the German government provide funding, we ensure that the partner organization we work with is having women and marginalized groups on their radar and incorporates them in the specific needs of this group or the specific issues of the group. And representation, of course, it was mentioned, to always have on radar who is not in the room. So our approach in our government is there should be no panel or no conference where there are only men sitting on the panel. We are not participating in a panel when there is only men on the panel. So this is something that I think has to do with a mindset issue, that we have to make ourselves aware of what is our approach. How can we discuss an issue, be it peace and security, be it domestic issues, be it trade and economy? How can we deal it or address it adequately if there is no woman sitting on the table discussing the perspective of a woman and the impact, the effects this specific topic has on women? So what we are aiming for, what our strategy is focusing on, is to make gender mainstreaming, to make women empowerment, to put it on our radar and make it a cross-cutting issue. Not to think, oh, it's Women's Month, what can we do for women? But to have a culture of change, to make it this approach and this component a natural one. Of course, we here in the Philippines, in the embassy, this means in our project funding, we do quite a number of projects, human rights projects. We have now even more heightened attention to women projects, but overall also in our foreign policy in Berlin, in all the embassies, we are now introducing a gender budgeting. So all projects should have this cross-cutting approach, and 85% of our overall project funding by not only here in the Philippines, but worldwide funding that is being granted by the Foreign Office. 85% will be given to projects that are aiming for gender mainstreaming, equal rights, and have a focus on women empowerment and empowerment of marginalized groups. I think it is a process. You cannot change things from one day to the other, but I think it's something that has to do with mindset, with the overall approach, and with thinking. And why are we doing this? Why do we have a strategy on feminist foreign policy? We want to give, and we want to give leverage to, and want to give visibility and voice to the issues of women in the world, not only here in the Philippines, but worldwide. So this is really a priority for us in our policy, and I think it makes absolutely sense, not only because women's rights are human rights, but when we look at the population, 50% of the population are women, more or less 50%. So this needs adequate attention, support, funds, and representation and inclusion. I think we should not celebrate Women's Month and Women Empowerment only in March, but all year, and to make women's issues and concern something that we take into consideration and take care of and address every day, 24/7, every day of the year. And one last word, for advocating also for the media work of the German embassy. I hope you all follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and are not because we are doing a great job, but because we are focused on women empowerment and gender mainstreaming. And I'm very grateful that GIZ partnered with us, or invited us to partner in a GIZ project on menstrual health. And we did, or GIZ did, a video clip, an interview with me. And we are now having these clips on our Facebook site. But apart from this, of course, women and gender issues are an ongoing, permanent issue in our media work. And of course, I'm sure everybody of you read the op-ed I wrote about 3 weeks ago, and that was published in Philstar. Not only because it's interesting and relevant to read, but maybe also because it has a very catchy title. I gave it the title, Let's Talk About Sex. And it's about teenage pregnancies in the Philippines, and the issue that I find really, the sexual and reproductive health issue that I find challenging to understand. After this op-ed was published, printed, a lot of Philippine friends and colleagues told me, yes, this is a very important issue. It's good that you said it. We need to focus on it. And I think we should work on addressing issues like this together. And I'm very grateful that I was invited by Likhaan 2 weeks ago, and had the chance to meet young girls who had gone through this experience, and to see and to understand, to hear their stories, to see what they had gone through, and their living environment, and the gaps that are there when it comes to the laws, the education, the access to information, the access to contraceptives. All this is a huge challenge, and I think we can only tackle and solve this issue when we are working on this together, and when we are working on this very decisively, and not by letting things go and not talking about it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Ambassador Anke, for this inspiring message. We would like to thank the Embassy of Germany for all your remarkable efforts towards the promotion of reproductive health in the country. You don't know how it means to us as feminists. Thank you very much. All right, so from this moment on, let me now move the conversation forward. And I'd like to also acknowledge the presence of Sara De La Rosa. She's one of a strong advocate for women with disability here in the Philippines. So let's give her our credits. Let's give her our warm round of applause. I have been working with her for a lot of projects. So yeah. So would you like to say something, Sara? Would you like to greet us?
Hi po, good afternoon. May tatanungin lang po ako kay Ma'am Rina. I speak Tagalog po, sorry.
Yeah, we'll just translate. We'll just translate. That's my job. Go, Sarah, go.
Ayun, Ma'am Rina, kasi po sabi niyo kanina, kayo po yung nagpasa nung solo parent here in QC. Pero parang feeling ko hindi po na-consider yung mga PWD women na solo parent. Kasi last time, solo parent po kasi ako. PWD ako na solo parent. Yun. As last time, nag-apply ako ng solo parent ID. Kasi nakatira po ako dito sa Quezon City. I'm from Holy Spirit po. Ngayon, ako po yung president ng Women with Quezon City Women ng kababaihan may kapansanan ng lungsod Quezon. And then ako po yung vice president ng WDR, Women with Disability Taking Action on Our Reproductive Health. Ngayon kasi, nakaraan yun, nag-apply po ako ng ID ng PW, solo parent. Pero bago pa ako nagka-ID noon, PWD na ako. And then may ID na ako ng PWD, white card pa dati. Tapos ngayon, na po yung master list. Nagka-pandemic. Ever since wala ako nakuhang, ano ba yun? Ayuda or benefits sa solo parent. As PWD, wala po ako nakuha. As ang nangyari po noon, for the first time, sana makakakuha ako. Kasi, nung pandemic, nagbigay tayo ng Kalingang QC. Yeah. Kalingang QC for sectoral, like PWD, solo parent. Kasi wala kaya ako nag-work eh. Nakita ko yung pangalan ko dun sa solo parent list. Pero ang ginawa po nila sa akin, hindi po nila binigay yung 2,000 na para sa akin kasi daw PWD daw ako. Bakit? Kasalanan ko bang naging solo parent ako? PWD ako. Yun. Parang, bakit gano'n? Sabi ko, tapos ang kulit pa. Sabi niya, dapat mag-renew ako ng ID ko. Sabi niya, hindi ka na pwede mag-renew kasi PWD ka na. What? Sabi ko, talaga ba? Alam niyo ba yung ginagawa niyo? Kasalanan ko ba naging solo parent ako at PWD ako para hindi ako makatanggap ng kung anong merong dapat para sa akin. Eh, solo parent sa totoo lang, hindi naman yung para sa akin eh. Para sa anak ko yun eh. Diba? Yun, ang sabi ko, ang unfair naman ng ginawa. Bakit ganun? Or, hindi ko po kasi nisisi. Pero ang feeling ko, hindi po masyadong ano ba yan? Natuluan or na-inform yung nasa down, yung mga barangay officials, yung mga nasa barangay para sa implementing ng solo parent. Yun lang po. Tapos, kay Atty. Twyla po. Attorney, sorry.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Medyo nagsasorry din ako kasi nag-message siya sa akin. Ayan, sige, mag-open na tayo, since nandito na tayo, anong pandemic. Nag-open, una niya akong minessage noon. Kasi may naman, a lot of things happen. And ako din, may mga demons din ako binabattle that time. Kasi it's COVID-19. MECQ, I was suffering in depression. I got clinically depressed then during the pandemic. So, nung lumapit siya, hindi ko rin siya ma-address. I was thinking of sa'yo. Pero feeling ko, marami mo rin ginagawa. Kasi MECQs, ang hirap ng sitwasyon, di ba? May kanya-kanya.
Hindi lang kasi, dito hindi ko yun lang inisip yung sarili ko. Inisip ko din, paano yung ibang PWD? Kung mangyayari yun sa kanila, yun nangyari sa akin. Yun lang, parang, yung 2000 hindi yun, wala yun sa akin. Parang, inisip ko lang, bakit ganun yung implementation? Bakit, parang may hindi tama?
Yes. Thank you. We acknowledge you, Sarah. Thank you for being so open about this. We acknowledge your feelings. These are all valid emotions. Thank you, Dark Lord, for translating it to Ambassador. Yeah, now, Sarah, Consi, Mayen, have something. Ikaw na lang. Okay.
Okay. So this is a perfect example of, the intersectionality of her being a PWD and solo parent. One, yung sa... Sorry that these are all distinctly Quezon City concerns and distinctly Sarah's concerns, but we will just address it na lang. Number one, yung sa Kalingang QC, I'm not aware of the guidelines kung bang ipinagbabawal na kung naka-receive ka na sa isang listahan, meaning PWD, kung ipinagbabawal talaga na makakuha ka bilang isang solo parent. Oo. Kung nandun ang pangalan mo, barangay ang inaasahan na mag-carry through nung programa and mag-carry out ng programa at magbigay sa inyo nung ayuda. So it's a barangay issue that we can take up with your barangay council and the barangay captain. We can ask about that kasi hindi malayong meron pang ibang katulad mo naging ganun ang sitwasyon. So it's important that we find out dahil hindi rin malayong mangyari din ito sa iba pang mga trahedya o iba pang pwedeng pandemic, etc. Hindi natin masasabi. And for sure, hindi ikaw yung nag-iisang PWD na solo parent. So importante and napakahalaga na alam natin kung anong gagawin when the time arises and that it will be a standard thing, hindi lang sa barangay mo, pero sa ibang mga barangay pati. So we'll have to get the details and then I can forward that concern. Yung sa solo parent ID, ano yun? Hindi magre-renew pero hindi pa nakuha? Okay. I think alam ko na to. Sinabing hindi ka pwede kasi nung time na yon strictly ini-implement yung QCID.
Hindi po. Wala
hindi
pa
pa. Okay. Kasi sa QCID nagka-problema yan na yung QCID nakalagay doon kapag PWD ka
Ngayon lang yun ang...
or solo parent.
Ngayon na lang po nagkaroon ng parang pagkaka-solo dati nung 2020 to 2018 ganyan. Yung time na yon, nung nag-renew dapat ako ng ID ko for solo parent. Sabi nung barangay kagawad namin, hindi na daw ako pwede mag-renew kasi daw PWD daw ako.
So, hindi yun totoo kasi pwede ka namang PWD and solo parent, so that's not true. But given that this is distinctly your concern, siguro later on, pwede tayo mag-internal na lang tayong dalawa para I can forward your concerns to the proper person, agency, or department head para maasikaso.
Thank you po, Consi.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Consi. Actually, medyo guilty rin ako dyan sa concern na yan kasi parte ako ng conversation. Hindi ko rin siya na-address kasi nga it was MECQ. Sobrang hirap din ng time na yun. Pero thank you so much. Ayan, thank you, Dark Lord, again for translating. Okay, ayan, for translating it to Ambassador. Yeah. So at this point, okay, so we have finished all the panelists. So i-open natin ang conversation among every one of us. So perhaps you would like to start like a reflection or anything that you would like to share about the conversation. Any questions? Ma'am, go ahead. Take the mic po. Where's the mic there? Thank you.
Ayan, magandang hapon po. Happy Women's Month. Yes po. paki-translate na lang po. So, masaya po ako. Galing po ako sa community, grassroots community ng mga mahihirap talaga, malalaking area, Malabon, Tondo. So, natutuwa ako kasi mayroon ng kampanya tungkol sa regla. Kasi ang regla ay napakalaking issue sa, hindi lang sa kabataan, kundi, sabi ko nga kanina sa module ba ng pagtuturo, kasama bang tinuturuan yung mga nanay na kagaya namin. No? Kasi, napakalaking impact nito, lalo sa pag-abil ng mga contraceptive. So madami po, humihinto sila dahil naniniwala sila na may normal na regla. So baka yung mensahe, kung paano siya imimensahe, dahil ang ipinamulat sa amin, ang regla ay kailangang lumabas dahil ito ay maruming dugo. At pag hindi sila niregla, ang lagi nilang sinasabi, abnormal ang regla ko. So hindi nila alam na sa bawat tao ay may iba-ibang, di ba? May iba-iba talaga. Hindi pare-pareho. So hindi mo pwedeng ikumpara yung sarili mo sa katabi mo, sa anak mo, kahit na dapat ay buwan-buwan, 3 araw, ganito kalakas. Kasi iba-iba talaga yan. Depende sa katawan. Ayon sa natutunan ko sa Likhaan, as a community health worker and organizer, iba-iba. Pero dahil yan yung tinuro sa amin at naririnig namin sa mga medyo mas matanda pa sa akin, dahil 60 na rin ako. So, yun yung naitanim na kailangan nating bakahin. Hindi lang hygiene ang sagot, di ba? Hindi lang po sanitary napkin, kundi yung pag-unawa talaga sa regla. Ano ba talaga ang regla? Salamat po.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. Anyone from the panel who would like to respond? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much po. Now, I'll just reply in English if it's okay. Or, Tagalog muna. Sige. Yeah, salamat po for bringing up that issue. This is also exactly the point that we recognize the link between sexual and reproductive health and menstrual health, and we are definitely working towards pinapalakas namin yung pag-ugnay ng dalawang topic, no? Lalo na nga that ang menstruation is also fertility awareness, na alam mo kung kailan ka mabuntis at hindi. And yung sinabi niyo po is very important, mahalaga para sa pag-develop ng mga materials, no? Kasi sa totoo lang, we're also teaching na what is regular menstruation, but we failed, admittedly, to address na the changes in menstruation that are also normal, na baka isipin nila na na may sakit sila, there's no one way of menstruating. So that's also the problem with with mainstream material na one lang from top down na template. And I have to admit that these kinds of questions were not tackled in the materials that we are currently producing din. And I'm very happy that you brought that up, na para mapalakas namin yung link between contraception po and yung menstrual cycle po. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead po, Shari. AVP Shari.
Hello. Just to add po sa discussion, sa katunayan ho, marami tayong mga organisasyon na pwedeng lapitan, no, na ang advocacy nila is to demystify and to destigmatize the word menstruation or the sight of it. One of those is called We Bleed Red Movement, PH. One of my friends founded the said organization. Tapos ngayon tuloy-tuloy yung kanilang pangangampanya, no? Kasi nga lumaki tayong mga kababaihan at maging yung mga tao sa ating paligid, no, lumaki tayo na nandidire o kaya natatakot. Kasi ganun siya pinortray sa media. Ganun siya pinortray sa loob ng ating mga tahanan, no? Pero kung makita natin yung menstruation as a sign of fertility or capacity to create life, whether or not you intend to produce life, no, bilang isang babae. So I think itong mga organization na ito, maaari rin nating lapitan, lahukan. Very accessible yung kanilang Facebook page and Instagram pages. And on that note, I would just like to underscore the importance of organizing and the importance of mobilization when it comes to forwarding the advocacies of women. Kanina na nabanggit po natin, no, yung women's movement, ang haba po ng kasaysayan yan. Kahit ngayong pagboto ng mga kababaihan tuwing eleksyon, hindi natin makakamit kung hindi kumilos ng sama-sama, no, yung mga mamamayan. At kasabay nito, dapat patuloy rin yung paglalobby po natin sa antas man yan ng LGU, sa antas man yan ng pambansang pamahalaan. No? I would just like to add, I've worked with Manila Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso for 1 year ata bago siya naging candidate, no. And in all fairness, meron din pong mga ordinances yung LGU na nagsusupport, no, doon sa struggles ng mga kababaihan. And palagay ko kung nagagawa ng QC, nagagawa po sa Manila LGU, we can replicate. And my message to my fellow youth members is to continue lobbying, continue organizing yourselves, because kapag isa lang mahihirapan talaga tayo. Pero kung bulto-bulto tayong kumikilos at kumakatok nila, no, kayang-kaya natin magtagumpay. So I think that's the essence actually ng women's movement. At yun din yung gulita natin ngayong araw, yung lakas, the strength of the collective efforts and assertion of the women. So yun lamang po, no. Maraming salamat kasi yung ganitong avenue, hindi siya palaging nabubuksan. Yung usapin regarding sa menstruation, ang tagal ko nang alam yung We Bleed Red movement, pero hindi ko pa siya narinig sa UP gaano. So let me take this time to extend my gratitude towards our panelists, our speakers, the organizers of this event, and the rest of the community members who are present right now. Yung mga problems na binabanggit kanina, mga concerns, patunay ho ito that our struggle continues and we should stop here, no. Tungan lang ho natin yung forum na to. After nito, we continue forward. Yun lamang po, maraming salamat.
Thank you, AVP Shari. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Hindi lang dapat puro lip service. We should move the conversation forward into action, di ba? Thank you so much. Who else po would like to hear muna pa. Go ahead.
Rinig po ba ako?
Lakasan na pa.
Nagpapa-thank you po ako kasi ang topic po natin is about this na napaka-sensitive po sa ibang mga kabataan. Swerte po ako kasi my mom po is tinuruan niya po ako kung paano ko po i-handle yung sarili ko kapag po nagkaroon na po ng menstruation. And concern lang po ako sa ibang kabataan na walang nanay, na parang single father lang po yung meron sila, na sana po ay may program para sa mga kabataang yon para mas maging comfortable po sila sa pagkakaroon ng menstruation. Kasi po, makakatulong po ito hanggang sa pag-age po nila. Kasi baka po kasi hindi po nila kaya i-handle, hindi po nila alam yung gagawin nila. Kaya I hope magsimula po ito sa mga schools para po going educated po ang mga kabataan. Kasi hindi naman po lahat ay may dalawang magulang. Ayun po, salamat po.
Well, there is a comprehensive sexuality education that's being developed now, no? But at the rate that it's going, it's like when 10 years is the RH law, the CSE, Comprehensive Sexuality Education, that's being drafted by DepEd is still at the pilot level of the regions, no? And this is supposed to augment something that's very lacking in many Filipino families' homes, no? As you mentioned, in the Filipino family, you hardly talk about menstruation. It's only when you have the stains, and then everybody gets worried, and they're more worried about the woman's fertility rather than her frame of mind or what else she needs, no? So this if it can't be done in the family, that's why meron sanang comprehensive sexuality education. But I think because of the very poor governance, no, I have to repeat this. I've grown old saying that really something is wrong with governance in this country, no? Although we are moving slowly, but we need to accelerate. But it should be in school, because the school-aged sexuality education would have started from kinder. So talking about their bodies, what happens when they see their parents having sex, what is that? Because in an urban poor community, they would see their parents having sex, etc. If they don't have a sense kung ano yung katawan nila, ano yung dapat sa kanila lang, di ba? That they should decide on, then they will never understand. They will never have what you were saying, control, di ba? Of their own bodily functions, menstruation being a core function of women that we should be comfortable about. So parang kailangan natin yan, medyo mabagal ang schools. The schools are really slow. Families sometimes are faster, and that's why education, organizing in the community should not just focus on livelihood. I know that's important too, but it should focus also on what are the body issues of both young girls and boys, di ba? The so-called soft issues, not the hard issues of livelihood and etc., but also the soft issues that actually both young girls and young boys also face at home but are never discussed or addressed. Yeah.
And it's important to talk about subjects that are taboo, considered taboo, di ba? And I'm very thankful. Yeah. They term these things as taboo, but they don't know the implications of terming these things as taboo in the long run. Just like what have been happening in terms of our sexual and reproductive health status in the country. Teenage pregnancy, HIV cases, di ba? Ang joke nga nila, I'm not really into pageantry, pero there was a joke na Thailand and Philippines in pageant world are counting the number of crowns that they've been getting for the longest time, and right now Philippines won the most number of HIV cases over Thailand, who used to be on top, something like that. So it's go ahead.
I think with in relation to what, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Jabs. Okay. Because you mentioned na baka someone or the government should have a program. I think yung pag-utilize ng sangguniang kabataan, dyan pumapasok dapat. Kasi that's a major concern, and it's a time-bound concern that is only very unique to the adolescent years. Na feeling ko dapat pinagtatrabahuhan ng sangguniang kabataan. While importante yung mga sports fest, yung kung ano-anong pageant, there are other, for me personally, there are other like more pressing concerns, like teenage pregnancy, like HIV in teens, which I think the SK should be very involved in managing, curtailing, preventing, di ba? With the passage of yung adolescent pregnancy ordinance, kulang na lang, pilitin ko yung SK Fed representative na maging part ng ordinance na yon. In fact, when we did our public hearing, I had a separate one for youth advocates, lobbyists, and SK representatives kasi napakahalaga nun. And meron kasi, di ba, Parents Patria, I don't know if I pronounced it well, which was a huge discussion when I was passing the adolescent pregnancy ordinance and the HIV ordinance, that of course conservatives would say, in the absence of the parent, syempre, if I were the parent, why will the government, i.e. me, why would I allow my child to have access to sexual and reproductive health programs and programs, di ba? And knowledge and contraceptives. But also, I think, napakahalaga that as a parent, in the absence of the real parent, the government has cognizance over what really is happening in as far as experimentation, in as far as getting their menstruation, etc. That it is a real concern. And instead of hiding under the guise of being more concerned about reproduction, early pregnancies, may mga ibang concerns na dapat your health center should be able to answer for the youth, because yung health center, they're briefed to be there and they have to be able to sort of communicate and consult with the constituency regardless of sex, age, gender. So when a child or a youth or a teenager, pre-adolescent age, comes to them talking about an impending, menstruation, it goes both ways, na dapat komportable din yung bata and dapat alam din nung nasa health center na trabaho niya na i-brief yung bata tungkol sa mga bagay na to. So it takes a village, the barangay, the health center, the parents, etc. So,
just wanted to add, because leaving no one behind, and we just remembered our situationers when we had a situationer and FGDs, KII with women with disabilities. So if you find that it's difficult to explain RHR, menstruation, to adolescent, imagine how difficult it would be for communicating with your deaf child and explaining that to her when you don't have a person who's able to use my ability to translate. So it becomes more inaccessible. So yung access to SRHR information is very crucial when we had our RH inquiry with women with disabilities, lalo na sa psychosocial. Some of the women we interviewed, buntis na siya, hindi niya alam buntis siya. Ang mga tao sa paligid niya, hindi rin alam na buntis siya because nobody communicated and she did not know that she was raped. Because she did not have any understanding it was rape. Because no one explained it to her. So the gap that we see in terms of SRHR information, freedom from violence, is even more exacerbated for women who have many barriers. No, nawala ding mga facility yung government agencies for them. Sarah has been outspoken in talking about that. No, police stations don't have sign language interpreters up to now. Even courts, we have cases that we assist deaf women victims of rape, and ang laki ng problema sa justice system in doing that. And dun sa situationer namin on adolescent pregnancy, one of the things that were recommended is really accessible, non-judgmental, youth-friendly information. So, age-appropriate. So, they're always faced with judgment that if you're asking about this information, you're promiscuous. Or you're asking. And even the boys that were participating in our FGDs were thinking that it's inappropriate for women. So, there's a judgment na if you're a boy, talking about this, it adds up to your macho points. But if you're a girl, talking about this, it's adding up to your landi points and the judgment against you. So that also impacts so much on how women are able to access information. So yun yung ating dagdag. And also, let me just add that in terms of women in detention, they don't have access too much on sanitary napkins. So if you have drives, please think about women who are incarcerated. They do not have enough sanitary napkins, so they always welcome donations. There's no gender specific. Although BJMP and Bucor says they have budget for it, but it's not enough. They only prioritize those without visitors, those who are vulnerable, PW. The rest, you have to fend for yourself. If you can buy, you have to buy. If you don't have your sanitary napkin anymore, you have to work for other detainees so that you will have money to buy your sanitary napkin.
Thank you. Go ahead, Doc.
I was just going to raise a point that Ambassador was saying. How come there's a dearth of information when there's a lot of social media, right? And actually, when you look at the social media, if you know, then you can find the alternative sources of good information, right? In fact, sabi nga ni Guy wanted us to plug that actually you have a chatbot called Kai, short for kaibigan, that can give you really a very frank information about puberty, sex, sexuality, etc. But we find that we cannot compete with, I don't know what they're offering on TikTok. I think you need to study exactly what works on those kinds of social media platforms. I don't know if you need to sing and dance or joke, but I think we really need to study and do that if we want to compete. Otherwise, yun na nga, when I think about our Kai chatbot, I don't know how wide the users are, but they're being used, but not to the degree that we want.
Thank you very much, Doc. And thank you for this insight. Sobrang ang dami nabubuksan, and that's exactly the reason why we're doing this. Yeah, thank you very much. Doc, of course, yes.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a privilege being here na narinig ko yung mga nasasabi ng mga concerns. And what's really important is how the sharings that our panelists gave us, and to see the importance of all the struggles in terms of women rights and the issues that are confronted, and also hearing from, for example, the cultural beliefs, for example, how it relates to our issues, And I was thinking, one of the key things that I realized is really the importance of education, the education at home, so and in school. So it should start really from home. That as long as the parents are able to educate the children, starting from menstruation, fertility, as well as yung sinasabi ko yung na importante na natuturuan natin, yung sa bahay pa lang, and also in school. I know it is a struggle in how we are able to create those information. I mean, to give those information, because it's not only, of course, it has to be. It's the role of the education sector, but it has to be supported by the parents, because the parents may not be open to having their children be educated at an early age. But it's very important that they have to be educated at an early age, because menstruation happens early on. Over the years, it happens at a younger age now. Now, more than anything, I would like to point out that all our efforts for reproductive health, for safe pregnancy, healthy pregnancy, as well as sexually transmitted disease, all these are really important, because we have all these movements in order to provide solutions to this. But at the same time, we have the barriers as well with the reproductive health, for example. And but I want to emphasize, as a medical person here and a person from the public health, that the health of the nation, the determinants of the health, our health, is really on maternal health, and it's the health of the mother while taking care of while carrying the child, and the health of the child in the first year of life. And it determines your entire health. It determines the longevity in life. It determines how healthy the population is. So in a way, it's important. It's the health of the nation. So I think the takeaway here, that while we have all those programs, and intervention, I think the government also has to make sure that they are able to provide more programs when a mother is pregnant. I think that's something that if we can enhance that, like it was mentioned that our world ranking for maternal health, and again, it shows into our longevity for Filipinos. The lifespan of the Filipinos is a bit in the lower side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. Yes, actually, I couldn't agree more with everything that you said, Doc, about this information. And I think then it's a collaborative effort, no? I think, Dean Guy. Yeah. So, kasi parang gustong kunin ni Dean Guy yung mic. So, yeah. So right now, we are overtime as expected. Actually, mas worse pa nga nung online. Nag-overtime ko ng 1.5 hours. So galit na galit si Doc Nazi. 1.5 hours. Pero di pa rin tapos yung conversation. But I so miss that. And I would like to thank everyone. But before we formally end this conversation, I would like to ask for one last time, all the panelists, I would like to just ask for a brief solidarity message since we are live right now. And a lot of women are listening. And just like what I've been telling earlier, as we celebrate Women's Month here inside this room, this empowering room at the UP Center for Women's and Gender Studies, at the other side of the world, at the other side of the country, there are women who are still experiencing demos, discrimination, exploitation, marginalization, oppression, subordination in all forms, and they are still yet to experience empowerment. So in line with that, may we ask for a short solidarity message that you can give across all these women in all these spaces. Let's start with Consi Mayen.
Di pa ako nakapag-isip na message. I guess first I'd like to thank UP CWGS for having this. It is really during these times that we come to realize how much work that there is to be done, and the work will not be done by itself or on its own. We have to heed that call to take on the work. And if we are striving for equality, for empowerment, that will also not happen on its own. That is a challenge that we have to take on. So while I suppose we take stock of the work that we still need to do, meanwhile, we can also celebrate the potential of having more and more women stand by our side, and we can celebrate the victories of those who have come before us, and the victories that we have yet to attain with the help of each other when we see each other side by side. So, yun lang. Happy Women's Month to all of us.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Consi Mayen. Attorney Twy.
So, muli, I always say that you don't have to hold a position in order to advocate for gender equality and women's human rights. Lahat tayo in all our spaces, the spaces that we are in our family, in our community, in our institutions, we can do something to advance gender equality and to advance women's human rights. And that's important because every space that we have is a space of empowerment. It's a space of resistance as well. Every time we speak out against violence, abuse, against all human rights violations, we are doing something and speaking out for those who are unable to speak. And I hope that we'll continue to do that and think that our voice is not too little, or yung ating ginagawa hindi siya maliit kundi malaki. And together, collectively, we can do more great things, and that's one. We continue with solidarity and collective action. I hope that we can continue to reflect from the learnings of our feminist mothers. And I don't know if we're going to probably build a bigger collective or to also connect with younger feminists and continue having conversations like this, because we have a huge task ahead. These are difficult times for human rights, and especially for women's human rights, and we cannot address this if we're not together. So we also take inspiration from those who've come before us. And it's always comforting to know that if we are in a difficult situation, there will always be someone we can turn to. Pag naubos na yung lakas natin, we can turn to someone who is able to give us that kind of strength. And it's also okay to rest. Because for many of us who do a lot of work in the community, sina Nanay Lina, sina Sarah, all of us in the academe or in organizations, we get tired also. Feminists get tired. So feminists also have to rest and take that also as an act of self-preservation and resistance, and also so that self-care, so that we can also fight for another day and fight stronger. So yun po.
Yes, thank you very much, Atty. Twy, the Dark Lord.
I didn't expect that we should have a solidarity message, but I already talked about solidarity. Oh, it is? Oh my God, I did not read the letter. Anyway, I did want to say something to everyone in terms of a message, because we did it again and I'm partly responsible. We talked about all the dire things that happen. Unintended pregnancies, fears of menstruation. But remember, my current advocacy is about pleasure. So we really should be approaching movements, not just rest but pleasure, movements, and even issues of sexual and reproductive rights from a pleasure viewpoint. We know, for example, that programs that make condoms fun are more likely to succeed rather than programs that say, you better wear a condom because you have HIV/AIDS and sexual. So that's part of it. The emphasis sometimes on child health when a woman is pregnant, rather than what a intended healthy pregnancy should be. And we've been there. I mean, we joke about the miseries, but being pregnant when you want to be, having a child when you want it, raising that child because you want to be a mother and you're ready is one of the best things that can happen. Not having a child if you don't want one, living your life because you don't want to have that child and you're given all the resources necessary not to have a child, is one of the best things that can happen to women. So here's my solidarity message, even if I wasn't reading the... You know, when you're retired, your mind goes wonky and you have no structure in life. Resistance, solidarity, fighting for evils is not unhappy. And the best way by which we can convince people, aside from I'm going to influencer school, I have to know how to use TikTok. I'm going to go to influencer school. But the best way, I think, that we can convince people to be feminists is to tell them the happy and joyful meaning of what it is. To fight for your own rights, to fight for the rights of your children, of your friends, of your colleagues, and to be able to say, this is not a struggle where we can't rest because we must. It's a struggle where we need to find joy. Otherwise, we're not really feminists and we're not very good activists. So all the women in the world out there who call themselves whatever you want to call yourself, gender advocate, feminist, I want to bitch because my husband is a bad person, whatever you want to call yourself, I wish you the pleasure of your resistances, the joy of your rest, and you're very, very welcome to a history and a struggle that has brought joy and meaning to so many women, men, and children. Good enough?
I have difficulty following that because she's very joyful and I'm a little joyless. But for all the women, the young and the old, you deserve to be equal. You deserve to be free. You deserve all the best health care that you get. Unfortunately, this is where I add, and maybe this is where I differ. That's not going to come from outside of you at this point in time. Government is still evolving, and you see the product of our elections. So you know that we need to do a lot to make decisions, wise decisions for ourselves. You need to be really smart. Tingin ko, you just have to be, and I'm repeating wise again, you really have to be smart. You need to take care of yourself. You need to care for the others that are very close to you and the people that you love. But you need to act. You really need to act. I know we need to rest sometimes, or maybe, yeah, appropriately. But in this country, which is a sluggard talaga tayo, we really need to push hard. And that means we need to act. We need to act for ourselves, also to act for our country.
Thank you. I would like to say a few words also in my role as the EU Gender Champion 2023. Therefore, speaking not only in my role as the ambassador of Germany, but for all EU member states. We are here to listen to your concerns, and this has really been a very useful and helpful input and experience for me to participate in this discussion and event panel discussion today. We are here to listen and to support your efforts. Our priority is really to work for gender equality, for women empowerment, and we are here to support your efforts, but we cannot do it without your efforts. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. As the lone male panelist, I think it is my obligation to call on all men out there to join the cause of feminism. For all men, who's ever been a father, who's ever been a son, who loved the wife, who loved the mother, and who loved his daughters. Let's make this a better place for all women. And also to go into a more positive masculinity without falling into the trap of benevolent sexism, which is also another thing I have to deal at the moment. I have to think about as well. But yeah, to just also to go deep into your male instincts, to try to also be more a defender, to be a protector, and to do what is right. That's from my end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Johan. Again, let's give our panel speakers warm round of applause. Yeah, so this conversation will never be possible if weren't they say yes to this invitation. Kaya sobrang maraming salamat. At this point, I also would like to end this with one of the most inspiring quotes that I've learned from our former director, Nancy Vercelles, from long-serving Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way which will lead others to join you. We're not just feminists because we would just like to tell the world that this is our advocacy. We're here because we would want to gain allies, and we would like to gain people who will be part of this journey, who will be part of this resistance, who will be one with us as we go through all these challenges and struggles and end up in a more transformative feminism. So that's how I would like to end it. And before we formally close this, I would like to call two members of Dulaang UP to promote something since every one of us is here. So you may want to proceed. Let's give them our warm round of applause.
PR! Alam niyo ba ang usap-usapan sa buong hinirang?
May karera daw na magaganap sa Plaza Binondo sa pagitan ng isang Espansyalo at isang katao.
Mula sa Espansyalo ng hinirang, isang bantog at guwapo, galante at simpatiko si Señor Jaime Alfonso Pietrado Villarreal.
At mula naman sa katao ng hinirang ng malaking bulas, may matabang puso at malaking utak, magana at matakaw kumain pero magana rin sa pagkatuto. Walang iba, kundi si Rosang Taba!
Wala tayong mga kamay dyan, palakpakan! O kayo. Kanino ka kakampi? Sa matikas o sa mataba?
Sa maliksi o sa wais?
Kay Señor Pietrado?
O kay Rosang Taba?
Oh, gusto niyo bang malaman ang nangyari sa karerang ito? Inaanyayahan namin kayong manood ng dula ang Yupis kung paano nanalo sa karera si Rosang Taba. Ang dula ay tatakbo mula March 23 hanggang April 2, 2023.
Maaari kayong bumili ng tickets online via Ticket to Me o kaya naman bisitahin kami sa booth namin. Nandyan po sa labas. Nagtitinda po kami ng ticket. At ang bawat ticket ay nagkakahalaga ng 1,000 pesos pero para sa UP students, PWD, and senior citizens, 800 na lang.
For more information and update, you may visit our Facebook page at Dulaang Universidad ng Pilipinas and at Dulaang UP naman for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
At muli, inaanyayahan namin kayo sa karerang inaabangan ng lahat. Dulaang UPs,
kung paano nanalo sa karera si Rosang Taba. Kita-kits!
Thank you.
Celebrate Women's Month watching kung paano nanalo sa karera si Rosang Taba. It also has a theme of women empowerment, body positivity, and nationalism.
Yes, which is very relevant to our celebration of Women's Month right now, but also because we celebrate women all year long, right?
Yes, and please watch it and support. And if you want to be a sponsor, you may also let us know. We have audience support packages so that we can sponsor those underprivileged and out-of-school children or youth so that they can watch and learn more about feminism, women empowerment, body positivity, and nationalism.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, kids. Now, one more. Let me call Ma'am Doris Noval for our final message before we close this.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the last 2 minutes. I'm not dressed. Anyway, I'm Doris Noval, and I am a martial law survivor imprisoned unjustly and forced into exile. I belong to the Survivors Hub. I just like to invite you to support our petition. We have a tent outside. Our petition is to the Department of Health, Department of DSWD, and the Department of Education to implement provisions of a MOA to service people like myself who are fast getting old and dying and vanishing. That MOA has been in place with those 3 agencies for more than almost 10 years and have not been implemented. So when you go outside, our tent is on the left side, Commission on Human Rights Memorial. There are 3 documents to sign. Thank you very much. And as you know, it's bad enough to be a prisoner during the Marcos years. It was much, much worse for females who were raped and many things were done to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ma'am Doris, for this. All right, so at this point, a few quick reminders. If you feel triggered by the conversation this afternoon, our feminist counselor, Tita Twyla, is here if you want to talk to her. All right, and then to formally end this conversation, may I call on the president of the UP Center for Women's Studies Foundation, Inc., Dr. Lola Caroline Aisabrichea.
As I grow older, my role has changed from opening remarks to closing remarks. I'm really very glad with what I can see your faces. This has been a very productive and very informative session. Thank you very much to our this morning we had a feminist conversation with a younger generation. and grassroots. But I would like to honor except for her, the mothers of the women's movement. Let's give them a round of applause. Oh, I am the grand lola. Wag na kayong umangal. So thank you very much for your Ako rin, I learned a lot and realized that we should focus on reproductive health. I was just in a meeting in the Department of Education because of the Gender Week, and I am the chair of CHED also. One of the major issues in the country is early pregnancy. In our statistics, we have adolescents with 5 or 3 kids already. And in my talk with the Department of Education, there's really nothing happening at the local level. We are in UP, we are high there. What I realized is we should go down the grassroots level. We should go down to the barangay and try to influence. Ate, mga ate ko, bababa tayo ha? Bababa tayo. Magandang hapon po and thank you very much sa pagdalo ninyo. But I can sing if you want.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lola Carol, for the message. Okay, before we end this, there's food outside for everyone. So thank you very much, GIZ and Embassy of Germany, for sponsoring our meals since this morning. We appreciate that. For those who would like to get certificate of participation, please make sure to register at the registration form. Certificate of appearance are there as well in hard copies. Okay, so may we request everyone for a photo op? I'm not sure how we will do it kasi mas marami tayo this afternoon. Siguro siguro hindi na lang kayo aalis sa mga pwesto nyo. I think that's better. Sina panelists na lang ang lilipat dito if that's okay with you. Yeah, para din, yeah. Yes. Sa harap. Okay, so maglalagay tayo ng, kailangan mo ba ng shares? Yeah. Thank you very much. Apa. I'm sorry, let's just assemble first for the photo. Yeah, dito kayo naka-face lahat. Opo. Nakaupo kayo dito. You may want to sit. Okay, first photo natin with everyone. Then yung second photo, the speakers together with the UP officials. Okay, so here na siya. So with everyone muna tayo para meron tayong photo with everyone this afternoon. Okay? Okay, sino magka-count ba? Mag-1, 2, 3 ako. Okay. Okay na po. Okay, get ready na po. Okay. Dito muna sa kay Flory muna yung naka-white. 1, 2, 3, smile. One more. 1, 2, 3, smile. Who's next? Sino po? Okay. Yung si Kuya po. Ikaw? Okay. Okay na po. Okay. Okay, so ano na po, okay na ang photo. Okay, so yung mga speakers and UP officials here siguro, in front. Yes, the rest, we have food outside. It's